Hello everyone, I'm Cool Guy, welcome back. Today is another season of Arrival's weapon review, this time the high impact auto rifle False Promises. It has some pros, it has some cons, it has some PvE and PvP qualities, and I think a lot of the Arrival weapons that have come out with the Umbral system, specifically this AR, the Fusion, the bow, they all have a utility about them that some players are going to love. And these weapons are going to be a part of their loadout for sure, while other players not so much. They're not really going to touch them. I plan to go over what the False Promises has going for it. It does have some special qualities. As a high impact frame, we don't see too many of these. There's Half Down, Galron's Right Hand, Age Old Bond, there's the Season Pass one. False Promises is a kinetic 360 RPM. The high impact frame, it's more accurate when stationary and aiming down sights. These are known for a couple things. Really high range, but low handling, stability, low aim assist. And the base stats are on the screen, and that's kind of reflected. None of the stats are way far from the other 360s. It's kind of in line with all of them. The range stat of these ARs is a standout. It pushes past that normal AR range that others have. Like most 600s get up to about 31 meters. This can get up to 41, 42 meters on the high end of the range stat. So that's pulse range, that's a really long way. That's still doing max damage. Most of the time it's going to hit about 37 meters, which again is really outside of the ARs. But this engagement distance, this 37 to 41 doing max damage, it puts it in a weird engagement space with that TTK, and I'm going to go over it later on in the review. It accepts barrels because it has a set scope. This is a 2x zoom. It somewhat reminds me of the Summoner scope. For the barrels, the same barrels that we've always had, and with the downside of the frame, my suggestions are based off of that. It does have 25 stability. Even with mouse and keyboard, that can be felt. And while mouse and keyboard does have less recoil, it doesn't escape a 25 stat. We have Chamber Compensator. This puts your recoil direction to 96. It gives plus 10 to stability, gets that stat up to 35, but it's going to bring down the handling to 32. It gives you two positives, and the handling can be helped with perks on your armor if you feel that it's really, really bad, but it's not too bad. Next, Polygonal Rifling, straight bump to stability, plus 10 to the stat. Small bore, plus 7 to range and stability. Fluted, plus 15 to handling, and plus 5 to stability, and after that, we're going to have a straight range bump with Hammer Forged Rifling. That works. Also Corkscrew. But be careful with Full Bore. It gets your range stat plus 15, but it really affects that low stability stat that it already has. Be careful of that, be careful of Extended Barrel. And Arrowhead works, but it's kind of overboard. Stability barrels would be way more beneficial. For the magazine, in PvP, it goes Ricochet rounds for plus 5 to range, plus 10 to stability, then Flared Magwell for plus 5 to stability, plus 15 to reload. Those could also be PvE selections as well, but usually you want something like high caliber rounds, armor piercing, or a pure mag option. And those two can work for the Crucible. For the perks, both nodes are on the screen. I'm gonna do something a little bit different with this review. Let me know if you like this new style, because as I go through one perk, I wanna talk about pairings. First is Overflow. Overflow is a personal favorite of mine. It does double the mag when you run over a special or heavy brick. I love it on Dire Promise and other weapons. The 32 rounds go over 60, and even in the Crucible, I like this perk because you get it to proc a good amount. Remember that you need to be able to accept a brick for Overflow to work. In the Crucible, that's pretty much always going to happen, but out there in PvE, if you're full ammo on your special weapon and you're heavy, it's not going to be able to proc. Overflow pairs nicely with Swashbuckler or Rampage, and for non-damage dealing perks, it goes really well with Unrelenting and Zen Moment. Because with all of these, you have a nice long magazine for a damage dealing perk, Rampage or Swash, and with something like Zen Moment, it's always going to be on the screen. But with Unrelenting, remember, we'll go through it real quick. It works off of a point system. You need 4 points. So you have this large magazine. Red bars are worth 1 point, majors are 2, and then ultras and bosses are 3. So you make 3 points, so you get the perk to proc. And even in the Crucible, this works as well because that long magazine is really benefited by these perks. Overflow works with pretty much all of them, Surrounded as well, and it can even work with Eye of the Storm. The only one that really kind of goes against it is Sympathetic Arsenal. Next is Killing Wind, quickly becoming one of my top 3 favorite perks in Destiny 2, increase mobility, weapon range, and handling for a short duration. This is a chainable perk, so after a kill, a timer goes on the screen for 5 seconds. Well, not an actual timer, but the timer is 5 seconds. If you get a kill while it's on the screen, it starts the timer over at 5 and you go from there. I have a 97 range stat on mine, and when Killing Wind is active, it hits at 43 meters. And when that perk is active, it gives you a huge bump to your accuracy, tightening the crosshairs. It puts your shots on a rope. You get a very fast aim down sight speed, you stray faster. It's like a makeshift rangefinder, moving target, snapshot, all wrapped up into one perk. And after I go over these perks and their pairings, I do want to go over top 3 role recommendations for PvE and PvP. But Killing Wind can pair with anything. Damage dealing perks, Zen Moment's really good, so is Unrelenting. Feeding Frenzy, a reload perk, again pairs with any damage dealing perk the best. And Feeding Frenzy is also the best perk to pair with Sympathetic Arsenal. Reloading after a kill reloads all stowed weapons. So if you use this as a main damage weapon in PvE, you can go through all the trash mobs, get the kills, get the reload. While you do that, that nade launcher in the background's ready to go again for the majors and ultras and bosses. It's kind of debatable if you should be using it with this AR, but it does work. Subsistence, this would actually be to you, the player, because I value overflow instead. I have a subsistence rampage roll. It was decent in that seasonal public event, but if I had to pick one way or the other, that roll kind of struggled more than it was beneficial to my loadout. I would much rather have had overflow. Dynamic sway reduction, it got a great buff with this update, improved accuracy and stability when holding down the trigger. It pairs perfectly with Zen Moment, and this also works with damage dealing perks. Underdog, when low health, you get a faster reload. I feel pretty much all other perks in this first node work better for this AR. They really outshine this one. It's gonna be up to you though. We have threat detector. When enemies are close, you get increased accuracy, stability, and handling. It's a perfect pairing with a perk in the other node that does well when enemies are in close proximity, and that's going to be surrounded. As far as role recommendations, there's always going to be a time where something suits you better, so always go with that. For PvE, ARs are currently used with the artifact, anti-barrier round, so this could become an option for a lot of you, especially with Sunset. These are fresh and new. The first role I want to talk about is Threat Detector Surrounded. All the shortcomings are helped. You get better stability, better reload, better handling. You get more damage to allow it to take out some of these stronger enemies. When you're in activities that have champions, you throw on that specific mod. When areas don't have champions, you use the Surrounded spec. It's just a good overall role. The second one is Overflow with Rampage or Swashbuckler, and some of you might want subsistence there. You get a large magazine, and it's going to be even more if you have a nice mag perk in the mag column, but you're going to be able to continuously lay down damage. It's perfect. The third is going to be Overflow Unrelenting. Again, large magazine, and when you hit that certain mark to get the perk to proc, you get that health regen, you get that health bump, not having to worry about a reload to try to get that final kill to get your health regen. It's like a mini Suros. Now, Unrelenting can work with Feeding Frenzy as well, things like that. It depends on if you want to go for pure magazine or if you want to throw some reloads in between. And I do want to point out that Killing Wind can work with any of these perks for PvE, and that one's just overall feel. The weapon feels great when you have Killing Wind going, and in PvE, you get it going pretty much all the time. For the Crucible, after testing, I do believe top priority goes to Killing Wind or Dynamic Sway Reduction in the first column. For me, the top perk is Killing Wind. I have the Killing Wind Unrelenting roll. I enjoy it. The idea is that with Killing Wind, after you get that first kill, you get all those benefits. You get the movement, faster aim down sights, the strafe. That helps win gunfights, so that second enemy, when you need that health bump probably after you get done, you're gonna get that with the regen. They work really nice together. The second combination is Dynamic Sway Reduction with Zen Moment. Stability bumps across the board. It helps you win your gunfights. And before I get into this third one, it's the one that I believe is the best overall role for the Crucible. Just note that damage dealing perks are great too, and that's to the player. It depends on what you want out of this thing, what kind of player you are, where you like to go. There are a lot of variables. But for me, when I look at what this can do versus others, we have Half Down that has Outlaw Kill Clip, Dynamic Sway with Kill Clip, a lot of great combos. And some of those damage dealing perks for this AR, you compare Killing Wind, Dynamic Sway, Feeding Frenzy, they work well with Swash and Rampage. But with this frame, how the stats are, this one does have something that the other ones don't have. And the role I've settled on is Killing Wind with Zen Moment. A lot of gameplay in this video is with that role. I have an 85 on the range stat, it's Ricochet and Polygonal. So the base stats are on the screen again, I also have on a targeting adjuster. What happens is it really rounds out the other stats outside of the range, so 85 range, 42 handling, 43 stability, 44 reload, 57 aim assist. And as far as Zen Moment, while Unrelenting is a really good pairing for Killing Wind, it's that with how I have this set up on the other stats, I get that first kill, Zen Moment's helping out, but after that kill, all those bonuses kick in. I hit that max damage at 43 meters. The accuracy that Killing Wind gives makes the headshots really easy to land. And when that perk's going, it kind of bypasses the frame, because the frame wants you to be stationary to be more accurate. And it's that makeshift rangefinder / opening shot, snapshot, moving target thing it has going on. You're pairing that with Zen Moment, pulling all of that together, pulling the accuracy really close for those critical hits. In a pure gunfight to gunfight to gunfight, I value this combination on this AR more than something like Rampage or Swashbuckler instead. Because this AR, this RPM, it's 5 crit, 1 body, it's a 0.83 TTK. If you miss and it's a 6 bullet kill, if you miss that 6 bullet kill and make it a 7 bullet, that 0.83 jumps right up to 1 second. So if you miss a headshot and do 4 crit 2 body, it's a 1 second TTK now. If it takes 8 bullets, it's a 1.16. If it takes 9, which is all body shots, it's a 1.33. So it's very important to hit the 0.83, going 5 crit and 1 body, and these perks are helping you do that. But with how these currently are within the game, 30 meters and in, it struggles against hand cannons, it struggles against 600 ARs. You more so count on them missing than you landing your shots. The sweet spot really is 30 to 45 meters, similar to a pulse rifle. But the issue there is that you're dueling against pulses, things like Redrix, Bygones, any pulse. And they do have that range for you. They were were designed for that range. They have the aim assist for those ranges. You can outduel all of them though. And again, I just found that killing Wind Zen Moment helps make that possible. The strafe often makes them miss shots, the accuracy bonus you get from killing Wind, plus Zen Moment, that stability, it's just working perfectly together. After I used this role, I didn't use the Unrelenting one anymore. And Unrelenting's a great perk. In conclusion, it has special traits, and in PvE it's an AR it can put in work because of the artifact mods, and it hits hard enough because of the RPM that it does flinch enemies without high cals, and when you add on high cals, it starts to flinch the mid and even some of the higher tier enemies fairly often. In the Crucible, this is one of those weapons that can excel, but you need to be on point with your time to kill. You need to be within a certain engagement range, and you need to be cautious with your positioning and where you're rotating on the map. It can do well though, there's pros and cons. Again, with the cons, that role of killing Wind and Zen helps out tremendously. It's also a weapon that does have the perk pool to be dominant if these get a buff later on. There are really good perks and perk combinations in here. Currently, it isn't meta, but then again, it isn't horrible, not one bit. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. If you're looking for a new controller, I am partnered with Scuff Gaming. There's a link down below, and you can use my code COOL at checkout for a discount. What do you think of False Promises? How's it faring in PvE and PvP for you? A question I want to ask, for PvE, are the roles working well enough to use it consistently, or are you kind of shelving it and switching off of it and going to another AR when it comes to champions and things like that? And for PvP, the same thing. What roles are you doing well with? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am Cool Guy.